we will be putting the ExoForma Graphene Coating through the full battery of tests in our 2.0 suite. We're going to know just how good this graphene coating is and whether or not I recommend it. Now let's get started and see if it's easy to install. To begin the installation of the ExoForma Graphene Coating, we're going to shake it up. We're going to apply a few drops, and then we're going to crosshatch pattern this. We're going to let this flash for around 4 to 5 minutes, and then we'll wipe it up. We're right at 4 minutes. I see the surface has definitely started flashing. You get these kind of little sweats. Let's try wiping it up. Pretty easy wipe up, not super tacky. They do say if you let it wait too long, it may get tacky. It's time to rate the application of our product, and we score from a -10, which would be a very hard to use product, to a +10, which would be a very easy to use product. I found this coating to be as easy to use as any liquid coating out there on the market. I think it does deserve a 10. The wipe up after flashing was really easy. The product spread well. I think it's a strong representative of how a liquid coating should work. Now let's talk about the visual appeal of the product. And in our scoring, it's very similar to ease of application. It's a -10 to a +10, with a +10 being as pretty as a product could look, and a -10 being something that has really dulled or hurt the look of the paint. In the 2.0 testing, we do average it against a red panel and a black panel. The left side of the blue marker of your screen is touching the line where the product starts, and the product goes left of that. Hopefully, even with YouTube's 8-bit color limitation, you'll be able to see just how good that product looks on the left. And here it is from a different angle, and now the product is right of the blue marker. And again, just in the reflection, in everything, like that light is being cut in half by the product in the bare hood, and it looks absolutely great. I have to give this product a 10 on the red. Here's our black panel, and the ExoForma is on the left side of the panel. A different product is on the right.
The ExoForma does look great on the black. However, I think it's not quite as stunning as it looked on the red panel. It still looks good, but in this case, I think we're gonna give the ExoForma a score of 5 on the black panel for an average score of 7.5.
It's time to do our gloss meter testing, and we're gonna be performing it on the panel here and taking an average of 10 readings. The readings are gonna show us if the panel has increased in gloss, which is the reflected light, or decreased. And on average, without anything applied after polishing with Meguiar's 205, this panel reads 94 gloss units. So let's get our 10 readings. 91.2, 88.2 over here, looks like 89, got 90.2, 88.5, 90.6, 89.6, 88.8, 90.1, and one last one, 90.5. And we've got 89.67 as the average gloss reading, and we're gonna subtract 94. And that means we lost 4.3 rounded down gloss units on average from applying the product. I need just a quick second of your time. Down below in the description, there are affiliate links to the products and tools used in this video. If you click through and purchase anything site-wide, I get a small commission that helps me run this channel. If you're enjoying the video, remember to hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, and let's get back to testing this product. Let's do the slickness testing of the ExoForma Graphene Coating. We're gonna take 5 gram force readings, average them out, and figure out the static coefficient of friction. 140 grams, 130 grams, 130 grams again, 120, and for our final reading, 130. And we see on average it took 130 grams to get that block moving. We know the block weighs 1,040 grams, so we're gonna divide. And we see that our static coefficient of friction rounds up to 0.13. We're gonna take 0.38, the paint's static coefficient of friction, and remove 0.13 from it to get a 0.25 delta. And then we use a 30 times score multiplier to get our points. So in this case, we're gonna give this product 7.5 points. If you want to learn more about this test, I'll link the original video for it up in your top corner. This machine does UV weathering. So there are 2 bulbs inside here that are UVA 340 bulbs, and that means this machine can simulate months or even years of UV exposure. This counter is going to read out the running time. If we kick both lights off and kick on the timer now runs. As you can tell, we have multiple products being tested here, including the one we're looking at today. Those products themselves have been applied to these microscopy slides. I have these neat little plastic slides that I've painted in orange paint. Here you see one that's labeled control and it has a piece of glass over it with nothing on it. That is a slide that has not been treated with anything. We also have this one labeled dark. This is another control that's going to go in a dark box. This slide here has been clear coated and it's also going to go in a dark box. Over here we have a clear coated slide with no glass on top of it. So the idea here is we'll be able to tell what difference, if any, these products make. There we go. All we got to do now is wait. It's been 24 hours. The machine shut itself off when the counter reached the limit. Let's try not to mess all this up. Here are our 2 dark samples. That's the clear coated one. That's the uncoated one. I've moved the samples on top of their respective slides so we can get a better idea of what they look like. The sample that says dark, just to remind you, is the one that didn't see any UV exposure. And as you can see, it's so much brighter. It still has that bright orange pigment compared to everything else. This is our control that had no glass over it. And again, it's all the exact same thing. Now we have our control clear-coated slide that sat in the dark and our clear-coated control slide that did not sit in the dark, that got exposed to UV. And as you can see, even the clear coat could not beat the UV. ExoForma Graphene Coating versus the dark control slide that never saw UV clearly shows a significant loss of pigment up here. When compared to the control slide that did experience UV, we're not seeing any real difference. Maybe a slight variation in how I sprayed it. On the other hand, the clear-coated slide that was blasted by UV was able to retain more of its pigment and color. The controls look the same as all the ones protected by that slide in our test. The only difference is the clear coat. We're ready to start our durability testing, and as you can see, we've got the ExoForma Graphene right here on this side. First, let's look and see how hydrophobic it is. It is definitely a very hydrophobic product. We've got our test panel locked into this elcometer, and what this machine does is it scrubs back and forth, leaving a predictable wear pattern that we can go back and test. The scoring, which I'll show you on your screen, is done in sets of passes, and essentially if the product is still working past a set, it'll get that amount of points. We've already pre-soaked the sponges with our normal washing solution. The solution in the machine is ready to go, and I squirted a little onto the test panel so we don't have a dry start. And I've dialed 10 washes into the machine, and let's let her rip. Now let's take a look and see if our ExoForma is still performing after 10 washes. Looks really good to me. So we just dialed it up to 20. Let's hit start. "20 washes in, let's check out the ExoForma Graphene and see how it's performing. Man, doing great. Not seeing much of a wear pattern or anything. Does it still work? And I would say, yes, it's working very well, but we are starting to see the faintest of wear lines. A 100 washes in, let's look at the ExoForma Graphene. And it's still working well. That little line in the middle is starting to grow. We are starting to see wear. With the panel back in, we're ready to go to a massive 300 passes. Let's let her rip. With 300 washes in, let's take a look at the ExoForma. It looks like the ExoForma is still slightly working, but it is really starting to approach the control at 300 washes. We're now 1,000 washes in. Let's take a look at the ExoForma. And we can see the ExoForma is now actually worse than the control because the control is still polished, but this has actually roughed up the surface of the clear coat. So 300 is where the ExoForma officially stopped. It did not make it to 1,000. And that means we're gonna give it 7 points for a result of excellent. With the full battery of tests for the ExoForma Graphene Coating over, let me give you my final thoughts on whether or not I'd recommend this product. I thought the durability was excellent. We saw some really good results from the product, great hydrophobicity. It just performed very, very well. I thought the visual appeal was quite good. The product really looked good on our panels, and I wouldn't hesitate to put that on my car. I also thought the ease of application was excellent. It was an easy-to-use product. It's about all you can really ask for from a DIY liquid coating. I thought that the slickness was quite good. Slickness is important because it prevents marring and scratching when you're interacting with the paint, like washing or drying. Furthermore, I thought that it didn't lose too much gloss, which is the reflected light. It is normal for products to lose some gloss on a highly polished panel. If you were to apply this to a car that hasn't been polished and maybe it's got some age on it, it may actually increase the gloss. However, I'd always recommend polishing your car if you're gonna throw a product on. In the UV department, we didn't really see any performance. However, that's pretty normal. That's the same as every other product we've looked at. Between the durability, the looks, and the ease of installation, you really can't go wrong with this product. So I would highly recommend it. If you're new to my channel, I do a lot of car mods, general car content, a lot of detailing videos where we get super nerdy like in the video you saw today, as well as tutorials and how-tos for detailing your vehicles. There's something here for everyone that's interested in cars. I hope you hit the subscribe button, leave me a nice comment down below, and I hope to see you again soon in a future video.